As people join us, I just want to give you a quick update on what we're going to be doing in class. In next week, you're going to have two assignments. They're going to be separate, but they're all going to relate to the podcast that, as I mentioned on my note yesterday, the podcast will be due in April. But these two assignments next week relate to the podcast. On Monday, I want you to send to me, and again, we're not meeting, but what your assignment will be is on Monday, I want you to send to me everyone that you want to tag that will see your podcast. Like we were talking about in class on Monday, how Allison and Rachel tagged like different publications to make sure the publications see what the student athletes are doing, make sure they get some awards during the season and postseason. So I want you to give me a list of who you want to tag, whether it's a publication, whether it's NBC Sports, whether it's Noah Eagle, because he covers Notre Dame, and if he sees a tag from a Notre Dame student, he's going to look at it. Give me a list of who you want to see your podcast. Again, you're building your audience, you're building your brand, you're showing people that you are an expert in whatever field. Give me a list on who you want to tag. On Wednesday, we talked about graphics and we talked about photo. I want you to send me a couple of photos that you want to use to support your podcast, whether it's a photo of you doing the podcast, whether it's a photo of the sport that you are talking about in your podcast. I want a couple of three photos, hopefully action photos. If you're doing something on women's lacrosse, let's have a couple of nice action shots of women's lacrosse. Anything that you think that will support your podcast. So Monday, I want a list of who you want to tag. On Wednesday, I want a couple, three photos that will support your podcast. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. We won't be meeting in class, but you do have those two assignments. And again, think about how you want to build your brand, how you want to get the word out about your podcast, what you're going to use to do that. So that's your assignment. And again, I'll kind of write it out on Canvas so you have a better idea. But today we're going to be talking about social media. We're going to be expanding on what we talked about on Monday. And today we are thrilled to have Shay Tiley with us. She is a graduate of St. Mary's. So she's very familiar with what we're doing. She gets what we're doing. And she is with the SavannahBananas. And the class has heard Chris and me talk about the SavannahBananas and just how good they are. Grassroots, connecting with fans. In fact, the company's name is Fans First Entertainment, and it says what it is. It is very much fans first. But just to give you an example of their social media, they have 4.1 million Instagram followers, 4.1 million, and almost 2.5 million YouTube subscribers. This is how the Bananas and the teams that surround Banana Ball, that's how they get the word out. And it's been very successful. And I wanted to bring Shay in to talk a little bit more about how you get the word out, how you reach those fans, how you engage those fans, and how you figure out what the fans want to see. So Shay, thank you again so much for being with us. We are thrilled to have you. And I guess before we get started, you've got your PowerPoint up there. Before we get started with that, I want you to talk about your journey to the SavannahBananas, how you got there in the first place. And you were fortunate enough to take an internship and parlay that into a job. And I think, that's the goal of everybody here on this Zoom. You want to take that internship and make it into a full-time job. So explain to us how you were able to do that.
Yes. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Super excited to chat with you all. So as Betsy said, I was a graduate of St. Mary's College, and I was lucky enough going into my senior year to accept an internship with Fans First Entertainment. I was a digital marketing intern. It's quite the lengthy process to be an intern at Fans First Entertainment because culture is everything. Culture is what drives our entire organization, and without that, we would not have the success that we have today. So it's a 3-step interview process, including a future resume that you make where in 10 years where you see yourself being, and that's your resume that you create for them, as well as a full test drive where you essentially, the digital marketing one included creating graphics, captioning posts, using hashtags, thinking of ideas, all that sorts of stuff. So once I was there in 2024, I went to 7 cities with the Bananas tour and learned a lot about the principles of the company. We really run on principles, and you'll hear me kind of mention a lot of those throughout this entire thing. But the biggest one for me that summer was ideas are everything. And that is something that we live on each and every week, as you'll see once I start to explain the structure of stuff a little bit. But that is what really got me, I think, the job essentially when it came to it. You have to get really used to getting your ideas shot down over and over and over again, but it really taught me how to make great ideas and learned how things actually work when it comes to gameplay and all of that. So once I left my internship, well, my internship ended in August of 2024. I went back to St. Mary's and ended up accepting a student internship with Fighting Irish Media, where I worked for volleyball and baseball, which was huge to be able to be in the baseball world and really cool because a baseball player I worked with at Notre Dame now is a banana ball player. So it was really cool to kind of see that happen as well. He actually had talked to me while we were both still in school and we kind of chatted. I gave him some connects and now he's here and he's doing insane. So happy for him. So that was a really cool experience. But I stayed in touch with everyone at the company while I was still in school, and I really honed in my practice on graphic design because straight up, we don't have graphic designers. We all do it ourselves. So each team account, everything that you see graphics wise on the accounts is created by the coordinator for that account. So for me, I'm on the firefighters and coconuts. So all the graphics on that page, with a few exceptions, are created by me. So that was something I really thought was important when I went back to school was to show my improvement from 2024 to 2025. And I basically got back in touch with them, had another really short interview process, did another test drive, and they said, "Hey, this improvement is really great. We'd love for you to come back for a shortened internship." So I went back in May after graduation. I had one day between walking on stage and being back in Savannah. So quick turnaround, but I never looked back, took the job. And then in July of 2025, I took over the firefighters account and then helped launch the Coconuts and Clowns account, and I've been on the Coconuts ever since. So that's sort of the story of how I got here. A little bit of a crazy process, but totally was fun to see it through and everything like that. So here's like a quick history of Banana Ball. We're not going to go through every point because there's kind of a lot that's happened, but some big stuff. And this is a really big portion of how we operate is knowing that you have to be passionate about something for it to succeed. So in 2016, the Savannah Bananas were created, and Jesse Cole, our owner, got everyone in town to announce the name. And he wore his yellow suit. That was the beginning of the yellow suit. And people did not like it. It made national coverage in a very bad way because what do you mean you are naming this baseball team after a fruit? It didn't make sense to anyone. And it didn't have to because Jesse was really passionate about the idea and he continued to work. And that's something that they instill in all of us is if you have an idea and you have a plan, continue to push for it because it will be successful. I think that's something really big I've learned, especially in my last 6 months here and trying to launch a new team, is just be passionate about your ideas. And again, ideas are everything. And so then in 2022, Banana Ball had so much success as a sport that they left the CPL, which is the Coastal Plain League. It was a college summer league. But Banana Ball had gained so much traction that they wanted to be able to have their own league and get to where we are today. I've helped launch 3 out of the 6 teams. So I've helped launch the Firefighters, Coconuts, and Clowns, as I mentioned earlier, which has been really exciting. And now in 2026, I'm going on my third world tour with the company, and we will be going to 46 states overall, which is really cool. I believe that there's a Banana Ball game within 5 hours of any person in the US. Might fact check me on that, but that was a goal for this year that you could drive 5 hours and see Banana Ball. So that is something really exciting that we're going into this year. It's the biggest year. We just executed 2 weeks in a row of having 3 games going on at once, something we've never done before. So that's been a really cool thing to see for sure. Especially with the growth. We actually just had a meeting this morning, and this is sort of exactly what we were talking about earlier, was that the goal of our marketing is not to advertise ourselves. The ideas that we create, we want to make so much of a wave that people have to talk about it. They have no choice but to talk about it because essentially that's free advertising. So this past weekend, the Bananas and Party Animals played in the Superdome in New Orleans. And we just talked about in our full staff meeting this morning that there were 324 media stories about just that game, not even just the two, not including our other two tour games that were going on this past weekend. 324 just about the Bananas, which was very, very cool. And they were on the Today Show, all kinds of stuff from this weekend. But on a little bit of a smaller scale, my two accounts played each other this weekend, which is exciting. It was like my Super Bowl because both my teams were playing each other. And just this past weekend, the Coconuts alone gained about 60,000 followers across platforms, which means that in the last 6 months, since the launch, we've had 195,000 new followers, which we call fans. So we have 195,000 new fans just for the Coconuts alone. Really insane to see that type of growth in that short amount of time, especially for a brand new team that nobody knew about 6 months ago. So kind of how we get there, our strategy is always going to fall back to fans first, entertain always. That is something that we're always thinking about. And our first principle that we talk about constantly is that we're fanatical about the singular fan. Do for one what you wish you could do for many. So yes, we want to reach the millions and millions of people that follow us, but the most important thing is that one person in that stadium feels like they had a fans first moment. That's the most important thing for us, is making sure that at least one person feels seen and heard every single weekend. Because if you continue to do that and our staff is growing and growing, if one person can feel seen by one staff member, it's just going to multiply. So that's something we always fall back on, even on social. I don't have a fan facing job. I'm not interacting with fans usually on the daily, but I'm really lucky that I get to talk to fans through comments and DMs. And that's something that we really, really push, is always being active in the comments and in the DMs, so that we're making sure that we're reaching all of those fans online as well, especially if they can't make it to a game. So these two questions that you see on the screen are something we ask ourselves every single time we put out a post. And we're posting multiple times a day, every single day. Something, does it make baseball fun? That's the biggest thing for us, especially when we go into idea generation, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But also, is it shareable? One thing that they sort of instilled into me when I was an intern is, would I be willing to share it on my own social media? If it's something that I would be embarrassed or I don't feel really strongly about enough to post on my social media, then it's probably not something that we would want to go on the team accounts. We want to be proud of every single thing that we're putting out. And that's where we push ourselves to post at the highest standard. We try to operate at the highest standard we possibly can. That's another one of our principles. So making sure that everything going out is something we're really proud of. It's making baseball fun, and it's making sure that the fans are being seen and we're putting the fans first. Something that's a really good example of making baseball fun and the things that really got the Bananas on the board are 3-2-2s. These are the dances that you'll see where the pitcher's on the mound and the fielders are doing the dance with them. It happens, it's called a 3-2-2, little insider information, because it's the third inning, the second batter, and the second pitch. So if you're at a Bananas game, you watch for that moment. It'll happen every single time. But something that people love about that is because you don't see that on a baseball field every day. You don't see the pitcher stopping in the middle of a game to dance. So it's something that is really fun and it makes the sport different. And one of our other principles, to throw it at you, is whatever is normal, do the exact opposite. So it's normal to see a pitcher just throwing for however many innings, but it's not normal to watch them dance on the mound with their other fielders. So that's something that we definitely always want to continue to think about when we're posting. So now for the more interesting part, this is the process of how we get those ideas from Savannah traveling onto the field until you see it on social media. So every single week we have a idea session, and it's called OTT, which stands for over the top. I'll be saying OTT a lot, so just remember that. Basically, every single week on Tuesday, so yesterday, for example, we all meet with our separate teams. So now we have 6 separate meetings, and everyone has a Google form that they fill out with all of their ideas. So there's hundreds and hundreds of ideas going in there every single week. Players are allowed to fill it out. Our entire creative team, our entertainment team, we all have access to this sheet. So then we meet on Tuesdays, go over our plan for the weekend. We typically go for one really big, strong walk up, one smaller walk up, a few run sellies, and then we've been working on some new buckets, as we call them. So that can be fun sideline hits. The Bananas have been testing doing a podcast in the outfield every single game with Ty Jackson. If you're familiar, he's hilarious. So that's just something really fun. We always test new things, and it's failed the first 3 weeks, but we've continued to try it to see what we can do and to show fans that it's okay to fail. That's something huge that we fail a lot. A lot of our ideas get rejected, but you just have to continue to try and make it better every single week. So in our idea sessions for OTT, we come up with everything, and then basically we bring it to the round table, as we call it, which is where we kind of duke out which team is going to do what. A big part of it is making sure that these ideas are on brand for each team, or if they're a little bit not what you would expect for a certain brand, how can we change that? So a really fun example of something that happened recently was 2 teams pitched that they wanted to do the double Dutch bus dance, if you're familiar with that, if you're on TikTok. So basically, we don't want things to be the exact same between 2 teams, even though they were going to be in 2 different cities. We don't want the same output on multiple socials. So we kind of chatted about which brand it fit more or how we can make it different. So the Bananas and the Party Animals ended up both doing it. One did it as a pitcher entrance and one did it as a run celly. And all 3 of them went absolutely insane. The Party Animals posted theirs in 2 parts. And it just shows that if you hit trends at the right time, and if we can do it in a way that, again, makes baseball fun and really fits the brand of that team, it's something that can be successful across multiple platforms and across multiple teams. So we build these ideas from scratch, basically. We make sure that we have props figured out. We know the exact lyrics and the timing of songs. If it's a walk up, who's going to be in it. And there is a lot of strategy to picking which players are going to be in it. Obviously, we want all players to have an opportunity to be in walk ups, but some players aren't as good at memorizing dances, or some players aren't as good at memorizing lyrics. So it's a little bit of strategy to make sure that we're getting the right fit. And that's something that we really think through on these meetings. So basically, once we go and have the roundtable, the final script is created. And then on Tuesday afternoons, we have what we call a table read, which is where we go over every show, every single entertainment OTT moment that's going to happen, so that our broadcast team, our creative team, video, everyone's on board of what's going to happen. After our table read and the total script is decided and typed out, we have rehearsals in Savannah. So we find time for all 6 teams to have rehearsals on the field. That way we can take these ideas, block them on the actual baseball field, figure out the timing, make sure our cameras are going to be in the right spot, getting the angles that we want, all of that. And we also go through how we can plus something. That's another word that we say a lot, is how can we plus this? So how can we have this walk up be more interesting for the live crowd, or more interesting for the people on social? Instead of just having someone walking up to the plate, singing a song, how can we add fun props, or how can we get fans involved? We had a walk up this past weekend in Little Rock for the firefighters where we got fans involved and we taught them some lyrics to a song and gave them simple choreography. And that's just plussing the experience for both the fans, but it also makes the walk up itself more interesting. So it's something that we go through as well during rehearsals. And then we will travel to our cities, and before the game, we have rehearsals again on the field pre-game, make sure everything's blocked out, everything's the strongest that it possibly can be, and then it's showtime. After that, we sort of go through all the edits. Our video team will edit stuff, and then the marketing coordinator, in this case me, posts it, and we go through the same process every single week of tour. So really quick, also, as I was mentioning earlier, we are fueled by failure here. There are a lot of things that can go wrong because there's a lot of moving parts as part of these OTT moments. So after each weekend, we fill out forms that we call LCPs, they're learn, change, pluses. And basically, we go through what went wrong in the game. So a great example, 2 weeks ago in Savannah, the gimbal that our camera was on malfunctioned and the entire video was shaky and you couldn't see what was happening. So in that case, we would scrap the output because it's not to the highest standard. So we sort of go through that. If there's audio issues, players forget lyrics, it's something that we try to learn and that we change so we can better prepare everyone, set everyone up for success from our video team, players, social, from every aspect. We want to make sure that everyone is being set up the best they can for success. There's also a lot of different things that can happen in post production. So whether that's a song gets muted on social, that happened this past weekend. We did a Teen Beach Movie walk up and it got muted almost immediately on TikTok. So how can we fix that? Repost it, or it just doesn't hit the algorithm. That has happened a lot. Or sometimes it takes 2 weeks to hit the algorithm. And sometimes we hit the wrong side of TikTok and they really don't like us, but hey, at a certain point, any press is good press. So still getting eyes on it. We can always convince people to become fans later. But those are just some things in posts that can happen. But something that we try to do is instead of just scrapping an output completely, if we don't think it was up to the highest standard, how can we create it into the highest standard? Something that we really like to talk about. This was a really cool moment for the creative team because it was just something really different we had never done. Coach Rack, one of our players, he had to walk up last year to a Benson Boone song and he fudged the lyrics so bad. Like just could not, every other line, he did not remember what he was saying. But instead of scrapping the output, we really wanted to put this out. Benson Boone was trending. It was something that we really thought would succeed. We had the idea to cut back and forth between the music video and Coach Rack walking because it was a pretty frame for frame walk up from the music video. And it ended up doing numbers. So something that we originally thought we would have to scrap because he messed up the lyrics completely ended up being one of our biggest outputs of the year and a really cool moment for us to realize that, hey, we can save this stuff if we need to. And there's a lot of different ways to do things. It doesn't have to be flawlessly executed in a game to still be a really strong output. So really quick, kind of how a game day goes. We typically get to the stadium. You can see an example. Sorry, my Teams is going crazy right now. You can see an example of what a broadcast push looks like. As I said earlier, we all make these ourselves for all of our teams. So I do 2 broadcast pushes every single week. Here's an example of one from 2 weeks ago at Grayson. Firefighters had to plug them a little bit. So we throw that out typically around noon, and then we will go to rehearsals. Both teams rehearse. Again, we make sure everything's ready to go and we feel really good about our outputs. And then it's showtime. So we typically have interns doing Instagram stories so that fans that aren't at the game or aren't able to watch live can still get a little grasp of what's going on. That will include score updates, behind the scenes kind of stuff, all different things. We just think if I was watching this game from home, what would I want to see on the stories? So it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which fans really, really enjoy. And then for me as a marketing coordinator, I'm in the booth and basically it's what we call boothing, a really awesome term. But so I write down every single thing that's happening in the game. So whether that's trick plays or the OTT moments, I keep time frame of all of those and also make sure that our entertainment team is staying on track with what's happening, making sure our OTT camera on our video team knows when the walk-up's going to happen, keeping them all updated, all that kind of stuff. Once the game is over, our video team comes up, we assign all of our outputs from that game, and then we have 2 video editors create the outputs for that night. So we try to get something out within typically a half hour of the game ending. So really a lot of pressure on our video team. And then we put those outputs out. Typically we go for the biggest moment from the game, and just try to see how fans, because if you think about it, like if I was at a game and I saw a walk up, I would want to, and it was a really big moment, I would want to go back on my phone in the car and see that it's posted and say, oh my gosh, I was there, I saw this happen. So that's kind of what we do. And then we put out the rest of the outputs throughout the week. Let me scroll down here. So again, with the branding, there's a lot of risk involved in the way that we try to brand everything. And our social strategy is so risky. We have a bunch of 20-year-olds running accounts, and it's really fun because we really have a grasp on what's going on, but it's taking a risk because of the crazy things that we do. We really, for different teams, focus on trends in a different way. So for the Bananas and Party Animals, a lot bigger accounts, they have more fans overall. Typically for them, we try to create trends as opposed to following them. We still love to follow trends as well, obviously, because those always hit big. But for teams like the Coconuts and Firefighters, my teams, they're a little bit smaller. So we want to follow trends so that we can gain more fans through that. And we also like to take a lot of editing risks. Whether that's a weird camera angle in the game or memeing things up, which is one of my favorite things to do. It's something that we've started to test with the firefighters a lot, basically throwing in, like, for lack of a better term, brain rot. And that's honestly a really big chunk of my job is putting brain rot into videos. That's where I was saying, like, I can't believe this is my job. I get to like make fun of people in video editing, and it's just a lot of fun, but it's risky because sometimes that doesn't hit for the audience. So that's just something that we really like to have fun with. And it's important that we're having fun with our content and the boys are as well, so that they can really dive into the brand. And truthfully, each brand is really, really different. The Bananas are more of your, your classic Taylor Swift, boy band, golden retriever type. The Party Animals are very the bad boys of Banana Land, sarcastic, crazy. The Firefighters are really strong, really goofy. Tailgaters are obviously very country. We really lean into that. Coconuts are your beachy vibe. And then the Clowns is a really historically based team. So those are things that we really have to experiment with, is how to push each brand in a way to get fans to like all of the brands, but also to sort of pick their team. We're a league now. We want people to have dedicated fans. So it's really important that we push those brands. And for me, I run two accounts with very, very different brands. So I really have to switch on my brain from Firefighters to Coconuts. Firefighters, again, super goofy. It's that tough, like, tough energy basically of being a firefighter. And it's something that is really important to me. We really honor firefighters in games, and we want to make sure that we're educating people as well about different ways that firefighters serve their communities. And then I switch over to the Coconuts, and it's just ride the wave. We're bringing the beach to you. Totally chill. Super different vibes, but it's really fun to be able to switch from those two different brands in my brain a little bit. And then a really big part is getting the players to buy in to their branding. Truthfully, it's not that difficult. It's not as hard as you might expect to get guys to buy into their brands. One, when they come to play Banana Ball, they know what they're getting into. So they're already pretty excited to buy into their brand. But also something that's really important is that we're pushing the boys' brands. So a lot of them create different brands for themselves. I think a really good example of this is on the Bananas, we have a player named Reese Alexiadis. He loves anime. So he's really taken on his personal brand of this anime One Piece. And it's been a celly for him when he does trick plays. He's done it as a double celly, all kinds of things. And something that probably wouldn't be part of the Bananas brand now is because Reese created it himself. We had Netflix in Savannah 2 weekends ago filming a One Piece run celly with him because he had pushed it so much, and he's gained us so many new fans because of this niche audience. So it's something that's really awesome too, is that they're able to help push Banana Ball through their really niche brands. And that's something that gets the guys to buy in for sure. And we're also really lucky that our coaches in Banana Land are super bought into their brands. The Coconuts coach, Coach Crocco, the second he got that job, he has not taken a Hawaiian shirt off. Like, that man is the epitome of Loco Beach. And every time you see him, he's going to talk about the Loco Beach family. He's going to hit you with a shotgun. He's going to just like the epitome of Loco Beach. And so that's something that when players see their coaches doing that, they also want to do it. And we all become a big family here, truly. So it's pretty easy for them all to just buy into that brand. So much so that we actually, one of our bigger pieces from off season was getting a spray tan company to come into the Coconuts. And we had them spray tan every single player after practice. And the Coconuts loved it so much, even though it was a prank and I thought they were going to be mad at me. They loved it so much that they go and get spray tans before every game now. So they're bought in. Like, you would not expect all these grown baseball playing men to go get spray tans, but they want to do the most that they can for the fans and to be bought into the brand. And it really just helps to immerse the fans in the brand and also immerse the guys themselves. So that's sort of a bit about the branding and everything. I know that was a lot of information in a very short amount of time, but happy to answer any of you guys' questions or anything else that you want to know.
Any questions? Anybody got a question? Jump
Yeah,
in.
I just have a quick question because, like, when the firefighters are in one city and local beach is in another, which is, going to be pretty much the whole summer, how do you go about that? Like, where do you go? And yeah, are you like watching the live stream? How does that all work?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a bit of something we're experimenting with. We've never had someone running two accounts at one time. So that's been really fun for me to kind of navigate. Um, I've been switching back and forth between tours right now. So I just got lucky that this past weekend they were playing each other. It was awesome and so nice. But really, we try to stay super involved with the teams that we are on tour with that weekend. Our marketing team is pretty small, so we're really great at communicating. So I feel confident knowing that if I'm with the firefighters one weekend and the coconuts are in another city, whoever the coordinator there is will do a really great job of taking care of my accounts. I'll also be involved in the OTT sessions for both, so I know exactly what's happening. So that's kind of the best way of navigating it is just really being where your feet are, taking care of that team and trusting in my coworkers that I know that they're going to take care of my other team.
Gotcha. Thank you. And shout out Clark. I know you mentioned him, but
Yes.
able to
Yes.
do a story on him. And yeah, I mean, like the video, you got like 50 million views. That guy's killing it.
Yeah, he's going crazy. It's been so cool to see his growth. I remember I literally sat in Duncan with him talking about banana ball. He was like, "What can I do?" And I said, "Hey, learn some trick pitches. That's something we don't have a ton of, and reach out to our recruiter Barry." And sure enough, he's here and he's having crazy success. So that's been a really cool thing as well.
That's awesome. Thank you again.
Yes, of course.
Daisy, you had a question?
You mentioned that like a lot of your job is like kind of just posting like brain rot and stuff. So up to that point, what um, what part of your job do you think comes more from like just being like young person on the internet, and how much of it like is kind of more like calculated, more like traditional marketing?
Ooh, that is fun. So basically, honestly, like I said, we test a lot of stuff. And it took a lot of gaining trust from the company for me to be able to post the way I do. And that's just kind of how it works in general in socials is really gaining that trust and making sure that they know you're going to put out solid content. Um, but I would say, honestly, a majority of what we do is just trial and error. Like, we don't do traditional marketing. And honestly, I think that anyone in the company, if they didn't know I ran the firefighters, they would be able to guess. Like, my personality is written all over that account. And I think that that's something really important because I love what I'm doing and it makes me want to push it. And I'm so deeply involved in those brands too that it makes me want them to succeed because it's almost like I'm posting for myself. So I would say a lot of what we do is very not traditional. The most traditional stuff we do is just have a nice camera and do a walk up on the field. Like honestly, it's not a lot of really traditional marketing as you would think. It's a lot of just doing crazy stuff. And I have done videos where I ask the guys over the DMs to come fix a tire on my car, and like that's just not something you're gonna see everywhere else. So I'd say for the most part, I'd say 99% of this crazy brain rot type of stuff we do, and it's really worked, and that's why I think that we're so different because we're doing the exact opposite of what people expect.
Anyone else?
I have a quick question. Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of to piggyback off of that, how are you like staying up to date with all of the trends? Is that just, you kind of scrolling through your social media or um, do some of the players like bring ideas to you?
It's a little bit of a mix of both. So yeah, I'm always scrolling and I just use it as an excuse that I have to scroll for my job and be on TikTok for my job. So that's a big way that we stay up on it. But players are heavily involved too. We want to make sure that they're enjoying the entertainment that they're doing during games. So we have idea sessions with them every week as well, typically towards the end of the week where they bring us their ideas. And then we see how we can incorporate those to the show. So we have typically about 6 people that are in the OTT idea sessions. So between all of us and all of our different algorithms, we're kind of able to stay on top of all the trends. And then of course the players too. So it's kind of a mix of everyone being involved, but making sure that we're seeing all that relevant stuff on social media and trying to throw it into the show as best we can.
Thank you.
I also have a question. So you talked a lot about like a lot of your ideas get shot down. So can you like talk about the process if you learn how to take that like feedback? Because obviously you get like pretty like attached to some ideas if you're really like proud of them. So can you talk about like your process and like learn that it's not personal, you're just trying to help the overall brand.
Yes, absolutely. When I was an intern, it was so hard for me to have my ideas shot down. I had graphics shot down every week and it would make me so upset because I just felt like it was so personal. But then I just had to remember, like, hey, this show isn't about you. There's so many of us that want to put out the best product, and just keeping in mind that it's not about me and it's not an attack on me. But again, it's a little different now. I've just been so used to having my ideas shot down, but there's ways to rework it. And I think once I had enough of them telling me no and learning why, we have a really good process of saying, hey, we're not going to do that. Here's why, and here's what you could do to make it better. That's really how I learned. And now, I don't want this to come off like weird sounding, but now a lot of my ideas don't get shot down because I was taught how to create good ideas. But even last week in our OTT meeting, I pitched an idea for a walk up and everyone told me that it was bad and they didn't like it. But I was so passionate about doing this walk up that I gave exact ideas, and I had already talked to the stadium about doing this exact thing. And I had a plan to the T and basically convinced them to let me do it. And we did. So, kind of just knowing what everyone's looking for and gaining that trust with the people on my team and our entertainment team as well has been a really big part of just kind of getting used to that basically dynamic of creating ideas.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, hi. My name's Ellie. Trey, thanks for coming in today. I had a question, if you can speak on it, just because like of like maybe like having to give Clark advice, but also other players too, like coming in to Banana Bowl, like what specific talent, because I guess the whole company kind of looks for when trying to find like their next players.
Yeah, I think now that we're actually a full league and this is the most competitive Banana Ball's ever been. We have Jackie Bradley Jr., former MLB player, on a team right now. Like, we have really, really solid athletes. So I think it's really important that there's a mix between obviously the baseball side of it and being able to create something new. So I'll use Clark as an example for those that know him. He obviously had baseball on his resume, not something he needed to worry about. But what he brought to the table was these trick pitches, and it was something new. And it was something that he was able to show to make the game more entertaining. So a really big thing we look for is not only the skill in baseball, but also being able to bring something to the show. So whether that's a character that they're coming in with, or a really big personality, or something more on the baseball side, like a trick pitch, it's really important to have that mix of it. And now we actually have entertainment players. So our entertainment players are less baseball focused, more entertainment focused. So an example of those on the tailgater, we have Jason on the tailgaters. We have Jason Arndt is his name. He's a country singer. So his big thing is to sing and to play the guitar, but he played Division II baseball. So he also knows a little bit of both. But so it's kind of a mixture. We have more baseball centric guys, more entertainment centric guys, but the typical like perfect banana ball player would be a mix of both, having a great character and baseball skill as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else with a question?
Hi, Shay. I just have a quick question. I'm just curious how you initially got involved in kind of the social media aspect while you were still in school, and like what that has really taught you going into Banana Ball.
Yeah, I sort of became interested in it pretty early in college when I was a freshman. I kind of just figured out this was my niche. This is something I wanted to do. So I got involved at St. Mary's. I helped our SID at the time with different graphics and stuff. She taught me a lot about sports graphics, And then I ran our volleyball account for St. Mary's, and I got pretty lucky that the SID at the time at St. Mary's moved over to Notre Dame, so she was able to get me involved with Fighting Irish Media. So that was a lot of learning for me, being able to sort of be involved with those things. But also, I just made sure that I was staying up to date with trends, creating ideas, even if these ideas are going nowhere. My senior year, I had a full notebook of ideas just to make sure I was working that ideal muscle because I knew that it would come in handy at some point. So just staying involved, whether that's creating a fake Instagram and just working on graphics for it and pretending to post, or I got lucky enough to find a couple jobs that taught me a lot. But I think that's where my passion really started. And once I got a taste of Fans First Entertainment in my internship, that was wraps. Like I knew that I had to be involved in some way, and that social was the place that I needed to be. So
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
I had a question about how you navigate the kind of like maybe more long form like on YouTube content versus the short form on, Instagram and Reels. And while there's shorts on YouTube, how you navigate having to kind of game plan for both. And I don't know if you like because I know different accounts have, I guess different teams have a different standing on accounts, but how your organization as a whole navigates that.
yeah, that's a great question. So we have each team definitely has their marketing coordinator and then their video coordinator. So I'll keep using the firefighters as an example, but my video coordinator, his name is Matthew. We work very, very closely because he edits short form and long form content. So typically more long form stuff comes in the off season. So let me think. We made a music video this past season in the off season because we had time, obviously. So having stuff like that when we have extra time to make fully long form dedicated content is really great. But we also have to find ways to still post on YouTube during the season. So a lot of our YouTube posts during the season are top 11s, best moments from the weekend, player spotlights, the more baseball-y aspect. But also if we have a longer piece of entertainment, even if it's just a minute or two, we'll throw that out on YouTube. We also do for the firefighters, we visit a lot of fire stations in the cities that we go to. And so those are really fun pieces of content because we can put out, a 10-minute video of the guys learning things about actual fire service. And then we can also create a 1 to 2 minute short form memed up video for socials as well. So it's sort of best of both worlds. Just working really closely with our video team to make sure that we're able to support them in YouTube and come up with ideas for them and also have them benefit socials.
Anybody else want to jump in? Shay, I've got a question about your overall strategy, social media. We talked on Monday about having a social calendar. You post with an intention. You're just not throwing stuff up there. But the calendar is not written in stone. You make it work depending on, for example, what happens during a baseball game. So how do you put together in your mind what that calendar is going to look like, knowing that you're going to be moving pieces and parts, game to game?
Yes. I really enjoy it. It's like a puzzle. It sort of feels like a puzzle after a game. Something that we also do that I didn't mention is we very much take track of our analytics, down to obviously your typical things, shares, likes, comments, but we also keep track of camera angles, which camera it came from, whether that be our broadcast cam or our OTT cam. So we're really keeping track of every single piece of content that's going out and how it's performing. And basically, at the end of a weekend, we just create our content calendar for the next week. So currently, my content calendar only goes until Saturday because that's the next firefighters game. So during the season, it's pretty simple to fill out because we just take all of our OTT content and put it in that week. So I know for me, typically walk-ups get posted on the night of the game when they happen. So I typically know that Monday or Tuesday, I want to put out a run celly to kind of switch it up. For the firefighters, every single Tuesday, I put out our firefighters of the night. from the past weekend. It's really important to me that we're highlighting those people on our socials. So those just go out on Tuesdays, kind of a lull in the week. And then gearing up to game day, we want to put the content that we're really, really feeling strongly about. As you said, things change, things flip a lot. So just being flexible, honestly, is the biggest thing. Truly, there is a rhyme and reason to it from our analytics, but also it's sort of just testing every week and seeing what's going to hit and when. We track obviously when our audience is the most engaged, to work on post timing and all of that. But it really is just kind of seeing what content we have from the weekend. Some weekends we walk away with 10 really solid pieces of content to the point where we can post twice a day. And some weekends we're not so successful and we walk away with 3 pieces of content, and then it's a scramble to figure out, when can I film a iPhone video with the guys, or what other pieces of content can we create out of stuff from this weekend. So it's kind of a mix. It's really different every single week, but it's basically just going through those analytics, seeing what's worked, and kind of testing things every single week.
And you mentioned about like the players have personalities and the fans know the personalities of the different players and they really play that up. Not every team or not every organization, not every company wants an individual to develop his or her own brand. But it seems as if Fans First really encourages individual players to really develop themselves. And is it or can it be a conflict between what they promote and then what you want to promote? Or do you work with the players to say, hey, let's talk about this, or hey, can we piggyback off of what you just posted and do something? How do you work with the players individually who do have their own brand and who are very active?
Yeah, we are really lucky, and something that is pretty different about working here is that we are very, very close and interconnected with the players. So you get to know them personally very quickly, and that's both a good and bad thing sometimes, but they're really great about communicating with us. Jordan Brewer, he's one of our new coconuts. He came to me before the season and kind of gave me this character he really wanted to work off. And so in that situation, it was super simple because I knew what we could work in. And we kind of really try to find the middle ground between, as a team account, I'm not trying to push one specific person, if that makes sense. Like, we're not saying, hey, go watch Jordan's videos or whatever, but making sure that we're helping their brand to grow. So I'll just go back to Reese, really great example. Obviously, anime is not part of what you would expect in the Bananas brand, but it's such a different audience that we've invited it with open arms because he's created so many new fans for us just because of this small thing he's interested in. Yeah, it might not fit what we know as the brand, but it's great to create more fans. And so we really encourage that stuff. And we really work with the guys to make sure that their characters are fitting their brands. And they have a really good grasp of what their team's brands are too. So there's typically not a whole lot of conflict there, but we definitely want to make sure that we're in communication with them and we're helping them grow their brands as well as the team's brand.
Any other question before we start to wrap it up? Anybody else? All right, Shay, what I always do when we wrap up, give the students a little bit of advice on how to prepare while they're still in college, how to prepare for the job that they want when they graduate. Just give a little bit of advice on kind of what you did on your path and what they should be doing while they're still in college to really prepare themselves for that job.
Honestly, I got really, really lucky with my internship and everything kind of worked out in that way. But I think my biggest piece of advice is just to continue to hone your craft. Like, I was constantly working on graphics and just making sure that I was learning new things, staying relevant on social media, paying a lot of attention to the bananas while I was gone so that I could really stay in the know and just jump right back in. But the biggest thing for me too was like, I've never wavered from being my exact self. And I'm lucky that I really fit with the culture at this company. And honestly, if the place that you want to work doesn't fit your personality, then it's probably not the place you're meant to be. So just continue to hone your craft, pay attention to different things that are going on, but make sure you're staying true to yourself. I know work can be like, oh, it's just your job. It doesn't have to be a part of you, but at the right place, it can really be an extension of you. So that's something I really liked about Fans First Entertainment is that it really feels like an extension of me and I'm able to be myself. Um, so I guess that's my biggest piece of advice, if that's helpful.
No, that is good advice. I always say when you walk into an interview, you know in the first 5 minutes whether you could work in that place or not, just by the vibes and the person that you're talking to. So that, if you're going to work there, enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Shay, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for adding to what we've been talking about this week on social media and really how the Bananas have built something from nothing. They were a plain old college development minor league team, and they have become a brand, and they have become a phenomenon that people will drive 5 hours plus to go see. I remember when the Bananas were in town last year. I mean, there were people there from Boston, and we're going, they stop in Boston. They go, no, we just wanted to come. All right. And people drove hours and hours to see the Bananas. So thank you so much. Is it okay if people have follow-ups to drop you a note? Is that all right?
Yes, absolutely. I put my email there. It's just shay@bananaball.com, but please reach out if you have any other questions. I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys. And thank you so much for having me today.
Great. Thank you, Shay. And I don't think Chelsea is with us anymore. I think she's dropped off. Chelsea's got a national championship on campus this week in fencing. So if you have an opportunity, go over and support them. Again, Monday, give me some folks that you want to tag on your podcast. Wednesday, give me some artwork, give me some photos, even if you have video that can support what you're going to do with your podcast. We'll turn that in. And again, I'll explain a little bit more about it when we get on canvas and you can see that. So Shay, have a wonderful season. And seriously, drop me a note if you're in Cincinnati. Love to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you. Take care now. Bye-bye.